Okay. You should start the episode with just like,
Can I even?
welcome to AuddyHotties with our juice box.
It's time.
Instead,
Juicy juice time.
and so sorry if auditory things are your sensory nightmare.
Honestly, I wonder if the microphone even picked it up. I
I'm
feel
so
like it
curious to see
doesn't
if it
pick
did.
up our claps or anything. I'm just like, fine.
I know it's like so good at tuning things out, it tunes that out.
Yes. Except it catches all of my ums, all the likes. Fuck you.
So today we're going to be talking about just some different sensory diagnoses, basically, or like sensory aspects that go along with diagnoses. So
Perfect.
yeah, here we go. Here we go.
Here we gonna
Here we're
go.
gonna go.
Here we gonna go. Here we gonna go. Do you know that song? Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. It's from E40. It's
Okay.
Bay Area music.
Oh.
I'll play it for you
Niche.
later. You're gonna love it.
Hotties. Yeah, welcome to the AuddyHottie podcast.
Here we are.
All right, guys, welcome back to AuddyHotties. We're your co-hosts. I'm Brie,
I'm McKenna.
and here we are to talk about some different sensory things today. I almost said social things, but that's the next one.
Sensory, social, it's
Yeah.
it's all within our scope.
So sorry about all of our editing issues last week.
Holy shit.
We'll get our episode released. But it's always having problems with technology.
And Mercury's not even in retrograde. So this is just
No excuses.
hard. Exactly. That is what I have to say. Is I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this not working? But anyway, thanks for patience.
Yeah. And I also had to make a correction to one that was a few back
Mhm.
because we haven't had a recording since then. But when we were talking about third cultures, so I had the definition wrong. I don't know if you saw on the post. I did put it on the post on Insta and the description so that it would be clear on what the actual definition was. We weren't wrong in like how we were talking about autism as a third like culture that you're within,
Mhm.
but third culture is usually used to describe people who are, say, like their family is Japanese, but they were raised in America. So then they're
Okay.
kind of like their own third culture that's been conglomerated of like the two cultures they came from.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it still
So,
kind of is accurate in like that we are autistic in a non-autistic family, non-autistic world,
yeah,
creating our own culture.
got it.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask if like a comparison would be like parents of autistic kids. Would that be
Mhm.
like a third culture? Because it's
Mm,
like
could
not
be.
necessarily within autism, but
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that and correct it since I didn't really know what I was talking about, apparently.
It's
Mm.
okay. It's okay to not know what you're talking about. I
Not
feel
an
like we need to
expert.
do several thousand
Corrections.
corrections and no, I that's actually an episode that I want to do at the end of this year is
Mm.
kind of go over our reflections of how the podcast has
Mm.
been and like if there's anything that we've said that we felt like could have been said in a different way or
Or walk it back. Yeah.
exactly. So we're not perfect. Don't claim to be ever, I guess.
For sure. Any updates that you want to share about? I know we're both going through, it's kind of a tough time socially right now, and if you need to disconnect from social media, that sometimes is the solution. So,
Yep, I'm off. I guess that could be my update is that, yeah, I decided about a week ago, no, 2 weeks ago to get off of TikTok. That followed, actually, it was a neurodivergent reason, but I follow someone that was a cast member on Love on the Spectrum,
Mm.
and she made a post about how she gets really annoyed when people use the term ADHD because autism and ADHD, not T, are two different diagnoses. So to merge them together is like inappropriate and annoying. And
Mm.
all I said, that comment literally just said, hey, ADHD. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I can't speak. ADHD is its own neurotype. And that's all I said. And I woke up the next day with like 100 replies to my comment being so abrasive
Mm.
and mean and just like calling me stupid, calling me uneducated,
Mm.
asking me like where I have that research, where I have that definition from. And it's like, I don't want to be part of this conversation at all. You all are being so immature. Um, I can be wrong about something and learn from it. I also don't think I'm wrong about this.
Yeah.
My experience is that ADHD is its own neurotype. My experience is that there is not enough research in even seeing what ADHD is, and that like research is its own fucked up thing with
Mm.
academia and racism. And I just, so I deleted TikTok because I was just getting really caught up in feeling attacked, and I'm not here for it.
Yeah.
I
I'm sorry that bullying happened to you. That's not
It
cool.
was a bullying situation. Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, yeah, I'm sorry it happened too. And I think it was also a point in time where I'm just like finding a lot more confidence in my voice about not only my experience, but supporting a lot of my neurodivergent students. And for that to be so um like volatile and it's all written communication, which is really a different way of experiencing cruelty, I feel
Mhm.
like. So I was just like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
honestly, I haven't missed it. And then last night, I was just thinking about how awful the news is right now. Like, there's just so many things going wrong in the world, and I'm well aware of what's going on. And just to be inundated and have all of these messages of again and again and again, all of the hate going on, I can't function with having that in my face all the time. So it's been really interesting today to live in my world because I feel like a ton of people have reached out, like as a result of me kind of announcing that I'm going off. And I love that. I love that, like,
Mm.
I still have all my friends. Like, I don't need an app to like maintain those friendships. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
No.
That's my update. I think that was like what, 15 minutes of chit chatting.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, I don't really have any big
Yeah.
updates going on. Kind of the same situation. I'm not off of socials as of yet, but I definitely have been trying to like curate my For You pages into more like, I don't know, liking and following things that I actually want to
Yeah.
like see more of.
Yeah.
So yeah, trying to keep it more of a light space.
Yeah. And I feel like you can do that and be so successful at it for so long, and then it just kind of starts creeping back. And
Yeah.
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 What are some things that are on your feed right now that are bringing you joy?
I have a few of those people that like purposely are commenting only on like, do you need to clear your news feed today? Here's like cool things that are happening in the world. And there's a guy that like he'll like talk about all the different like reports of things going on, like, oh, like this country saved these turtles, or they discovered a new
Oh,
species of animal, or this country had a win in, saving, the environment in some way, or it
that's
shares
really
some really good stuff.
some really like
Mm.
sweet content.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then trying to like all the animal videos.
We love the animal videos.
That always makes us happy. And anything like comedic and
Oh my gosh. Comedy saves, I
yeah.
swear. Just laughing a little bit. It's the
hmm
best.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
But yeah, let's get on to talk about sensory things today.
Let's do it.
So this one has come up kind of from our other conversations that we've had in the past, and then like talking through some of the other diagnoses and stuff on our previous episodes. And this one, I really wanted to go through some of the sensory disorders. So, like sensory processing
Mhm.
disorder, sensory modulation disorder, integrative dysfunction, and then what is a like highly sensitive person? Because I think that also gets kind of conflated with like autistic symptoms as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, maybe a little bit more educational this time, and then we'll talk about like our own experience during too.
Perfect.
So,
We love to
so
comment.
yeah. So before we do definitions, do you know if you have any of these?
I haven't. Sorry, that was a weird.
Ah.
I'm sure I do.
Okay.
But I guess what I have a hard time untangling is whether I have these or like it's my autism,
Mhm.
where it's like I know that I have a lot of sensitivities, but is that because of my autism or because of another profile
Right.
that you're talking about?
And
So,
most of these can be co-occurring or
mhm.
can be standalone too. Like
Yeah,
sensory processing disorder is the most common one, and it can be the only thing that someone has. Like you don't have to be ADHD or autistic
right.
to have sensory processing disorder.
Yep.
So then a lot of people are also in that place of like, okay, well, do I just, am I neurotypical, but I
Hmm.
have sensory processing issues, or am I fully autistic? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. Well, as
Do
we go
you?
along, I think I probably do.
Yeah.
As we go, we'll talk about it for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
exactly.
I definitely always wondered about the highly sensitive person because
Yeah.
I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
I have as well, and what I have read is that when you are assigned as a highly sensitive person, it probably means you're autistic.
mm,
So I actually don't know if there's a difference or not.
yeah,
So I'd love to hear more about it.
cool. That'll be the last one we cover. So.
Great. Something to look forward to.
Okay, so before we start on what those are, I wanted to go through the types of sensations again, just so we have all of the
Oh,
different types
yes.
going on. So we've got a lot of our common ones first. Auditory, so characteristics of sensory stimuli that is heard. Visual, interpreting and determining characteristics of sensory stimuli that is seen. Tactile, the sensory stimuli that's felt via the skin and or interpreting higher level visual spatial characteristics of touch. So like where on your body it is, like locations of touch,
Mhm.
types of touch, depth of touch, that kind of thing is
Interesting.
included. Vestibular. So this one is the details experienced through movement of the body through space or against gravity. Proprioceptive, which these two are easy to conflate with one another. I don't know why I keep using that word. To
It's a
confuse
sticky
with one
word.
another. So details experienced through the use of the muscles and the joints. So this is
Hmm.
your proprioception more in the sense of your joints position from the internal world, whereas the vestibular system is sensing more of the external world and where we are in the external world.
Interesting.
Yeah. Gustatory, which is related to sensory stimuli that is tasted.
Gustatory?
Gustatory.
What a fancy word.
Olfactory, this is a
Hmm.
sensory stimuli that is smelled.
Hmm.
And interoception, which we've talked a lot about,
Yeah.
which is the interpreting the stimulation from internal organs like your stomach, heart, gut, lungs, etc. And the sensation is related to emotion that are felt inside the body.
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll give us a good baseline of our sensations. All right, so sensory processing disorder, also called SPD, a lot of times, is considered a neurological disorder in which the sensory information that the individual perceives results in abnormal responses.
Hmm.
So this is specifically about how you respond to the sensory stimuli.
Got it.
So basically, the sensory information comes in through your receptors and then goes into your brain, so
Yep.
goes up the system to the brain, but doesn't get organized inside of the brain to the correct response. So it's like something gets crossed in the brain, and then you have a response that is inaccurate to whatever that is. And that's not necessarily a response that is intentional.
Hmm.
That's a response that can be automatic. It can be a felt thing. It's not always something that we're thinking like, oh, I'm going to make this response happen.
No.
So, and then people with SPD perceive or respond to sensory information differently than most others.
Hmm.
So it's present in like 90 to 95% of people with ASD. So
Yeah.
most people with ASD have this, and then also 50 to 80% of people with ADHD. And then, like we said, it is also a separate condition that you can have on its own. And they've found that, so like 1 in 45-ish adults have autism, but 1 in 6 people may have SPD.
Oh, very
So
interesting.
SPD rates can be very high.
Wow.
Yeah. And we'll go into there's a lot of different types of SPD, and that's where like some of the variety comes in.
Yeah.
But a lot of neurotypical people then would have SPD.
So then I guess, can we talk a little bit about the difference between autism and SPD? Because what I've heard is that um, when you're autistic, it is like the socializing component as well. It's the processing of other information that isn't sensory information. So
Mhm.
what types of information would that even fall into? I
Yeah.
guess is my question.
So I'll definitely go into some of that, but that's very true that there's different types of information that are also having that like incorrect response
Correct.
in the brain.
Yeah.
But I think this is more specific to the sensory
Sense.
systems that we just talked about. But I think that's why it is present in so many people with autism because
Hmm.
we have the sensitivities that are separate along with the sensitivities that are specific to our sensory system.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you get that like combined.
Yeah.
Um, the sensory processing disorder actually isn't listed in the DSM as a separate condition yet.
Yeah.
So that's part of why there's some confusion because it's
Got
not
it.
like you're diagnosed with autism and SPD or
Yeah.
not. Like
Right.
it's just kind of like a feature of what we
Yeah.
know of at this point.
Hmm.
And so therefore a lot of people, if they aren't at a diagnostic level for autism, but they do have SPD characteristics, there isn't an official diagnosis
Right.
for that. So yeah,
Makes sense.
someday. But one of the biggest things that they found is there is a difference in brain structure between people who have SPD and autism and people who have just SPD. So that's how
That
they
makes sense.
know
Yeah.
you have sensory processing, but not autism.
Huh.
Versus that. Obviously, we don't all get brain scans, but in the research, we know if
Got
you're at the
it.
diagnostic level for autism, you have brain changes.
Huh.
And that's, how they can prove.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that your brain shows that you have autism.
Yeah, I don't think they know for sure in like what areas, but people
Yeah.
with autism do show differences in their brain
I mean,
and
makes sense.
yeah,
But
like where their connections are. I think the biggest thing is like how many, like there's not synaptic pruning, there's too many connections or maybe missing connections, that kind of thing.
yeah, my therapist has been explaining to me just that like as autistic people, we just like take in so much more information than
Hmm.
neurotypical people. Like that pretty much is the difference between neurotypical and neurodivergent is the amount of information that we are gathering from
Hmm.
all sorts, whether it is sensory, whether it is listening, whether it is attuning to people. It's just
Yeah, it's a flooding of the
it,
system. Yeah. A flood. Um, and I think that's definitely true for a lot of autistic people. And then there is also the synaptic pruning, like I was saying. So you can also be taking in either a normal amount of sensory information or taking in too much. But then inside of the brain, it's also not getting rid of unnecessary connections.
oh,
So like
yeah.
neurotypical people, their brain will prune out things that are not needed. So like if you have a rose bush and you're pruning off the dead branches or the things
Yeah.
that aren't getting enough nutrition, that kind of thing to help the rest of it be healthier, our brains aren't doing that. So they have all these connections that are not necessary. Or maybe not the most efficient connection.
Right.
And then we end up with a lot of these incorrect responses because it's connected,
Right.
like this part's connected over here instead of being over there. And
Yeah.
mm,
Well, and think about like rumination too, of those like pathways being gone over and over and over again, like, and how much
mhm.
space that probably takes up in your brain. And wow, I love this conversation.
Okay, so some things that can result from SPD that go kind of along with it, is that it can affect your social interaction and also show some increased restrictive or repetitive behavior,
Hmm.
which makes sense if you're, either trying to avoid sensory or increase it, your repetitive behaviors to do that need are more likely.
Hmm.
And then it also leads to increased anxiety and depression and feelings of helplessness. Because again, you're being flooded, and it's really hard to process the world when you're being flooded with stuff. And that helplessness feeling like you can't control how much is coming in.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I have to say that this has been very correlated to my experience of going back to work this summer or this fall, where I feel like last year I didn't really think about my sensory experience as much. Like it didn't
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of effect on my daily life. And I don't know if it's because I spent the summer outside a lot or quiet. Like I don't know what it was, but coming back to work has been the most dysregulating chapter that I think I've ever had, where like every sound is too loud. every like food feels weird to eat. I am like sitting under weighted blankets all day because it's just like too much. And I think that my anxiety is up, and also that helplessness feeling is so real of like, how the fuck do I like manage this? Like, I know that I am dysregulated, but like, what do I do?
Yeah, I wonder
Yeah.
if some of that is too from also the change in routine because your body got used to kind of
Yeah.
where your stimulation level was at, and now it's like
Mhm.
escalated all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's almost like our bodies like are toddlers that don't understand why we're doing something. They're like, why are we like all of a sudden really stimulated? I don't know what's going
Right.
on.
Yeah.
And then we have to like wait for it to kind of adjust.
Yeah.
And yeah,
The transitions, man.
yeah, hard. So I also wanted to say that sensory integrative dysfunction, I thought that it was a separate condition, but it's actually just an old name for SPD.
Oh, okay.
So if you hear of SID, sensory integrative dysfunction, it's just an old name. So it means the same thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. And then within sensory processing disorder, there's some categories, and then those categories have subtypes. So they are sensory modulation disorder, SMD, and that includes sensory overresponsivity, sensory underresponsivity, and sensory seeking or craving. And we'll go deeper into all these.
Perfect.
The next one is sensory-based motor disorder, SBMD, which includes dyspraxia or coordination disorders and postural disorders.
Hmm.
And then sensory discrimination disorder, SDD, which includes all those other areas that we talked about. So that's more of the discrimination of what it is. So going into those, um, so SMD is the first one. So that's the one with over responsiveness, under responsiveness, and sensory seeking. And the interesting thing is that it can be inconsistent. So you don't necessarily just have one type.
Cool.
It bounces around
Of
between
course.
them. Yeah, which has made it really difficult to understand for people in the past and like
Hmm.
to categorize into where you're at. So if you have SMD, you're not necessarily categorized to one place. It's kind of like when we talked about that workbook that you had with the
Hmm.
wheel and the different things, like you can have hypo and hyper on
Yeah.
different areas.
Yeah. That
So,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense.
it does make sense. Yeah.
The experience makes sense. Why it's so complicated doesn't make sense.
To break down the word a little bit more, sensory modulation as part of the disorder is a pattern involving how individuals respond to sensory input. So responding to being overly sensitive to stimuli, feelings of overwhelm, while others may seek out more intense experiences. So the modulation is especially in how you respond to it.
So would that be respond in terms of behavior, or would that be responses in terms of like even bodily responses? Like I think of when I'm around fragrances, I get a really bad headache.
Yeah, so it's like it's both.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, so part of sensory modulation disorder, again, a problem in regulating your responses. Um, it's usually having strong responses to sensations that do not usually bother others. We're giggling because McKenna did their ball drop as usual.
That's over there. I am a cat.
Got it back.
Got it back. Thank you.
So some common signs that go with sensory modulation disorder are things like being easily distracted by noises, overly sensitive to sounds, disliking nail or hair cutting, disliking
Hmm.
clothing or certain textures, fits,
Hmm.
styles,
Yep.
upset about seams and socks,
Yep.
difficult time falling or staying asleep, reacting defensively to tastes and textures, and easily distracted by visual stimuli. So obviously that's not an all-inclusive list, but that's just some examples of how sensory modulation disorder presents.
All right. Well,
Uh,
you asked if I have it. I definitely have it.
yeah. All right.
What about you?
Yes.
I know that you struggled with socks.
Yeah,
Socksies.
socks, clothing. Yeah, I've talked about before how I change like 6 times a day sometimes.
Yep.
And it's very dependent on like what else is going on in life. Like if I am overwhelmed by a lot of other things going on or work stress,
Yes.
that pushes not only sensory sensitivities but also ADHD up.
Yes.
And sometimes I'll feel like I'm not ADHD at all, where I'm like, my
Right.
brain's perfectly organized and I can do everything that I need to and stay
Yeah.
on task. And then I'll get overwhelmed.
Hmm.
And then it's like, every sensory thing bothers me. I can't shower. My ADHD, my brain is just jumping around and can't keep track of things.
Yeah. I'm so glad that we have similar experiences because it really does just feel nice to be like validated in that experience of
Mm.
like, oh, I'm not the only one that experiences this. And like what I'm going through right now is normal for the ADHD experience.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
Well, and I think that's like nice because I'll have always self-doubted whether I am or
Yes.
not. And I'll be like, well, I just have like, like a neurotypical way of having sensory things or whatever. Or everybody experiences this.
Right.
And then you look at like the level of which it affects our lives. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, talking about this really explains like how intensely this actually changes things. Mm.
Yeah, and I think it brings realism to it too, of like you can't just brush it off. Like
Mhm.
it impacts us on a daily basis. And I think that like bring in the sense of like, oh, I can like control certain sensory inputs, like by wearing noise canceling headphones or like by fidgeting and taking care of some of those needs, like allows your cup to be less at capacity for overfilling. Does that make
Yeah,
sense what I'm trying to
exactly.
say? Yeah.
Yeah, and like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have never known what was making me feel that way. I just be like, oh,
Yes.
I'm overwhelmed and like, oh, everything is so hard. And why is it so hard?
Yes.
All right, guys, quick trigger warning. We're going to talk about suicidal ideation. If you are not in the headspace to listen to that right now, please skip ahead. I'll put in the timestamp in the description for you to skip it. So,
Love.
and I think that's part of what led to so much like depression and suicidal ideation was like I didn't understand where that was coming from. And if you
Yes.
don't understand it, then you're like, I'm out of control. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that is where my brain goes to almost every time we talk about overwhelm,
Mm.
how much more suicide ideation I had when I didn't know that I was ADHD,
Yeah.
because you do feel overwhelmed so quickly, feel like you can't handle things and feel like you just want any easy way out. And to
Mm.
have the tools to kind of navigate the tools and the language to navigate your experience and have like some ownership in it and have like a plan is just it is life-saving. Like diagnosis is life-saving.
Yeah.
Having more information about these about autism, about ADHD, about ADHD, about all sorts of different
Mhm.
diagnoses is life-saving. And
Yeah. I think that's
I
really,
get very fired up about this.
yeah, I think that's really important. Um, and for me, like one of the biggest like changing points in my understanding of it was I had a therapist at one point who was talking to me about my suicidal ideation, and they were like, what is it that you're thinking? Like, what is it that makes you feel like that? And all I talked about was how I just felt like I couldn't do the next day. I couldn't do the
Yes.
next day because it was
Yes.
too hard. Things were too challenging. I didn't know how to manage it. Like, I was like, I just feel like I want to give up because it's too hard.
Yeah.
And they kind of flipped it and were like, that's like, it still is suicidal ideation, but it's not just depression behind it because just depression behind it is more of thinking like, I'm worthless.
Hmm.
My life shouldn't continue. Like
Yes.
it's more egocentric in that way. And like
Hmm.
it's not that I never had those feelings. I definitely had times where I was like,
Yeah.
it's like I'm dumb. I can't do any of this. Like, I had some of those feelings too, but the neurodiverse experience of that, in my experience, was more of the challenge of the next day.
Correct. Yeah. And you were
Mhm.
able to like piece that apart in therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like having the diagnosis really dulled the egocentric experience
Mm.
that I had because I felt like because I wasn't able to accomplish things and because I was getting overwhelmed, I was worthless and I
Right. Mm.
like was an incompetent human. And I think that like having the language around it really did like mellow out that part of things and allowed a lot more
Yeah.
like self-acceptance to come into play.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. Ugh, I'm
Guys,
so glad we're here.
yeah, me too. I'm really glad that it's still like a current, like a passive part of my life. Like, I don't know if you have the habitual like response where it sometimes like just pops up
All
by
the time.
itself.
It's a intrusive thought.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
now it's like a passive intrusive thought.
I
Like,
agree.
if you are curious about any of this, you can research passive suicidal ideation because it's like a talked about thing. Um, and that's what I'll tell my like providers and stuff too, is I'm like, I have passive because of my history with having active suicidal ideation.
Interesting.
Um, but it's not something that I'm currently thinking about.
Yeah.
And it's almost like like those intrusive thoughts, like you have to be like, whoa, no, don't drive off the bridge. Like, whoa, no, I don't want to die. Like, put it back, back in the
Yeah.
box.
Go back, go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it really is. I think it has just been so life-changing for the thought to be, oh, I can't handle this anymore. Oh, that means I'm overwhelmed and need to like recalibrate
Mhm.
from, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. Oh, I want to like end my life. Like I can't do this
Yeah.
anymore. So I there's
And
just
like the
so much
reflection
power.
ability,
Hmm.
like similarly, like the thinking ahead of like what do I need to do, but also the like thinking back of like, okay, what happened in the last few days? Okay, I went and did this social thing, and then I also had like stress at work, or like I did the like, and realizing that those things are what caused it
Yeah.
directly. Like, like not just
Doesn't
like,
appear from nothing.
yeah, not just like all of a sudden I feel bad for no reason.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's such a good
And
point.
I have the power to do something about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I think it also gives me a great deal of like gratitude and acknowledging the privilege that, oh, I did get to a place where I can like walk myself out of that suicide ideation. I know a lot of people don't get there, and that
Mhm.
suicide rates are so high within disabled communities. And I just really, I hope, if anything, that we just continue to promote more acceptance of disability in general, more language and autonomous ways for people to show up in their lives, and like normalizing that it's okay to have bad days, normalizing that it's okay to feel overwhelmed. And I hope that that's what happens.
Yeah.
I feel like the opposite right now
Ugh.
in our country and our world, but I am doing the work in my like little world of my 40 students to like really promote more of that way of being. And
Yeah.
I don't know,
And providing
doing
some
what
of the
I
tools to
can.
feel in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like again, it's okay to like not be okay. I know that's like a
Hmm.
motto in the like, I'm gonna say to write love on her arms community, but that's love, love, love.
All right. That was a great, a great conversation.
Well, I think so. I think that it's something that we don't talk about. It is one of those taboo subjects, and I think that it's such a realistic thing that goes on in our community.
Yeah.
So you're not alone.
Yeah.
Talk to friends, touch grass.
Get off social media if you need to.
Go ice skating.
Yeah.
I started ice skating again.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, we need to go together.
let's do it.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted to go through a couple of signs of sensory sensitivities in adults specifically because
Mm,
I thought that was really interesting. And this is a cool little infographic that I'll put on socials later too. Um, because a lot of these things are, either they're generic or they're kind of geared more towards kids or just general environment, but I like that this is adult related.
me too.
So it includes some things like visual sensitivities, like stress in bustling environments, like driving or visually busy workplaces. I will also add to that lighting types, add to a lot of the busyness of the workspace.
Yep.
Difficulty navigating public spaces, so easily being overwhelmed in crowded places like public transportation, grocery stores, and social events, which I definitely experience a lot of.
Yeah.
Intimacy, difficulty with aspects of sex or intimacy due to sensory aversions.
Yep.
Sensory-induced fatigue, consistent fatigue and overload from processing sensory information, impacting energy levels for personal or professional commitments.
Yep.
Distress from strong odors, hindering navigation of public spaces and limiting the use of household products. Parenting stress, including struggles of sensory aspects of parenting, such as nursing, being overly touched, managing meltdowns, navigating playgrounds, and play dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's really important to, yeah, maybe
Acknowledge.
eventually we should talk about like parenting, but in like the why we are both currently child free and like how it
Hmm.
affects our like future life decisions.
Yep.
Sometime we'll talk
That
about
could
that.
be a good episode.
And then some
And my
signs.
therapist here.
There we go.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay, good. And then some signs of sensory overload for adults is feeling a wave of fatigue come over you. I
Mhm.
thought this one was kind of funny. It has a little like symbol for like a wind-up doll, and it's the wind-up doll, but like face down. I was like, that makes sense because you're like, dee, 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 dee.
I love
Uh,
that.
it can also be feeling wound up and
Oh, yep.
spinning, so
Doop,
going the
doop, doop.
opposite
Yep.
way. A sense of panic or a desire to escape, which I also get a lot of, and I think previously I confused with just straight anxiety.
Yep.
An urge to block incoming sensory signals, like covering your eyes or ears. Extreme irritability, restlessness, and discomfort. Okay, so to go back to another one of the types, so that was sensory modulation disorder. And this now we're going to go on to sensory-based motor disorders. So that's dyspraxia and the postural disorders.
Mhm.
So for a definition of postural disorder, it's a problem with the control of your posture or quality of movements, especially seen with like low muscle tone or joint instability, or poor functional use of your vision, often seen with vestibular and proprioceptive problems.
Okay, this is wild.
Oh yeah.
Tell me more. Be diagnosed with 1,000 things this year.
Another example would be an individual with postural disorder has difficulty stabilizing his or her body during movement or even at rest in order to meet the demands of the environment or a motor task. When postural control is good, the person can reach, push, pull, etc., and has good resistance against force. Individuals with poor postural control often do not have the body control to maintain a good standing or sitting position.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so this is where a lot of the stereotypes of like ADHD and autistic people having poor posture, like slumping in our seats, being told to sit up a lot or stand up straight, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Mhm. And part of why it's related to the like low muscle tone too, is because low muscle tone is like having a difficult time with contracting your muscles. So then if you're easily fatigued and have poor sense of where you are too, then you're going to be more, slumped into gravity, difficult time holding yourself against position, aiming your hand for where it's going,
Yeah.
those kind of things.
So fascinating.
Yeah.
What helps with that? Does anything?
Actually, at the end, I had a little section on
Great.
what would help it,
Great,
and the
great,
biggest
great.
thing is OT.
Oh,
So
wish they
shout
had
out
those.
to me.
We love you, Gabby. We miss you.
Yeah.
Um, okay, we can talk about that in a second.
It can also sometimes be called, so this postural disorder, sometimes it's also called postular ocular disorder,
Mhm.
because a lot of that vision portion is seen in it too.
Yeah.
So some common signs are seeming weaker than other kids, fatiguing easily, frequently moving in and out of their seat, slumping while sitting, difficulty making eye contact, tracking with their eyes, and reading. So a lot of times may cause like jumping when reading or difficulty following across like a line on the page.
Mhm.
Um, and then falling and tumbling frequently. Feeling heavier than anticipated when lifted. I thought that one was interesting. It's like when you go to pick them up, they kind of feel like a heavy lump.
That's so interesting.
Which
Yeah.
is probably just because of not activating your muscles as much. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever tried to pick up someone that's like
Limp.
totally it's got a
Yeah.
limp in your arms versus somebody that's like helping you pick them up.
So interesting. I didn't even know that there was a difference actually.
Oh yeah. Should
Yeah.
we do an experiment? I'll try to pick you up one way and then the other.
Good luck. I don't know if I'll have enough muscle control to like not
I
be
mean, it's
limp.
hard to
And
not like
I have
not do.
really like I have been in physical therapy before a lot this year especially and I have a really hard time coordinating my muscle relaxation. Like
Mhm.
I contract a lot of my muscles.
Yeah.
Stress wise.
Stress
So
and
fun. And
and
weakness.
probably with hypermobility,
Yeah.
also protecting joints and stuff
Yep.
because your ligaments probably aren't as tense to hold them in place.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
And the last one in that one is also having flat feet. It's very common.
Got those.
Yeah, me too.
Great.
It's very fun. Okay. And then the other part of the sensory motor differences is dyspraxia or motor planning problems. And so that one is a problem with planning, sequencing, and executing unfamiliar actions, resulting in awkward or poorly coordinated motor skills, typically seen with a sensory processing deficit, and usually seen with difficulty doing new activities or things that are like more infrequent to you. Um,
So, for example, would that be like going to a dance class and learning a new dance routine
mhm. Yeah,
and
you
how
may feel
like
even
weird
more
it is?
uncoordinated than
Yeah.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you age, it just gets more and more hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Individuals with dyspraxia may have difficulty forming a goal or an idea to plan a sequence of actions. Um, they are sometimes clumsy, awkward, or accident prone, may break toys, have poor skill in ball activities or other sports, or have trouble with fine motor skills.
Mm,
They may also prefer sedentary activities or try to hide their motor planning problems
yeah.
with verbalization or like fantasy play.
Yeah.
Do you relate to that?
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Sure do.
So some common signs of dyspraxia are problems with daily life tasks like dressing or using utensils, eating in a sloppy manner,
Yeah.
difficulty following multi-step directions,
Yeah.
a strong desire for sameness or routines, having an awkward pencil grasp. I don't,
Ooh.
have you seen that video about neurodiverse pencil holding
No.
and how like because of hypermobility, like a lot of times we hold our pencils with like
It
I'll
hurts.
hold this with like crazy like hyperextended fingers or like having to use a bunch of fingers instead of just one.
Wait, we should practice this.
Yeah, do you
I
have
don't have a pen.
a Here, I've got a pen.
You got a pen?
Just to see if I have anything to put it on.
Well, I wanted to also announce that I got my access pass for national
Oh,
parks.
just how did you do it?
Bree, it was so easy.
In the news.
Once I found it,
Uh-huh.
it took me 3 different tries to go to this site to find the fucking place to get the pass.
Uh,
But I found it not by myself. I made my students find it as an activity. But it was really easy. You just go there and I had all of my diagnoses printed out for them.
Mhm.
And they were like, you don't need any of this. Like, you just need to sign this paper. And basically, the paper said that, like, I'm owning up to having a disability.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
And tell everybody what it does for you.
This gives you access to all the national parks and, or, I don't know what else it does, but
It's access to all the national parks. Yeah.
lifetime pass for U.S. citizen, valid at federal recreation entrances. So, like, I think that when you go on hikes and stuff, you can just put this
Mhm.
on your dashboard and you don't have to pay the parking fee
Yeah.
or entrance fees to various national parks in the area. So, I'm really excited.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
Yeah, highly recommend getting one.
All right, we're gonna see how both of us write. So I think mine is definitely the hypermobile way. I'm gonna like try to turn my finger so you can see. So when I write, it's very sloppy. So like I'm like, oh, that's actually a pretty good handwriting day, but it's like
We
all over the place. And I write in small caps because it's the only way that I can keep myself like consistent.
Amazing.
If
I
I
love
try to
that.
write in if I try to write in regular like
Oh my gosh, look at
it's
you.
like a third grader. But yeah, look at my finger position. It's like super like but
I
I'm
mean,
very
it looks like
hyper.
mine. I don't,
It looks normal.
I know. So I'm not going to think about
Yeah, don't think about
how
it.
I'm doing it. What should I write?
I love podcasts. Oh my God, look at your fingers. Wait,
Yeah.
turn more this way.
I don't think about it. And then sometimes I
She's
notice,
all three on it too.
I
I don't know if
notice,
that's right or not, but it's got like all three really intensely.
I also notice sometimes that I look down and I'm like, oh, they're like all white. Like
Yeah,
there's
like you're pushing extra hard. Yeah.
my finger.
And that's another part of the sensory thing is if you're like if you need more input, pushing really hard into the paper too.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, like look at my claws when I write. That is so weird.
So everybody test it out, see what your writing style looks like.
Right. Another reason why.
Everything's everything's because of the diagnosis. I'm just kidding.
I'm just autistic in every way.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Okay, and then dyspraxia has a couple of subtypes too.
Okay.
So dyspraxia has vestibular bilateral integration and sequencing, VBIS, which people in this subtype may experience difficulties processing vestibular and proprioceptive sensations, and it affects the body's ability to control body extension, balance, bilateral integration, so using each side together, sequencing of movements, and motor planning of movements.
So would this or the postural one, I don't know if you've heard of this, but that hypermobile or autistic people have a tendency to have like an excessive curve in their back.
Mm,
Do you know?
yeah.
Do you know
I
PT?
would imagine that it's postural,
Yeah.
because of like body awareness of position and also that low tone thing where you're more likely to
Yeah,
kind of be slumped into different
sure.
positions, so you're not resisting gravity as much.
Yeah,
But
cool.
whereas dyspraxia, I think, is more in like how you're moving. So it'd
Got
be
it.
like maybe being unable to like correct that position or
I see what
something.
you're saying. Coordinate the movements.
Yeah. So this VBIS symptoms of them are appearing clumsy, struggling with skilled coordination of actions that require good timing, for example, like running to catch or kick a ball, having difficulty crossing the midline. So that means like the middle of your body, like reaching across to do tasks on the other side
Mm,
is harder for you. This really affects like babies and young kids because they have
yeah,
trouble learning to roll, learning to like bring their hands together to clap, that kind of thing. So I see a lot of that.
so many things to learn.
Yeah. And having difficulty with tasks that involve vision and movement together,
Hmm.
which I think this is more what I have because mine is a lot of like the depth perception issue. That or I'm not sure, but it's either that or that I have the what is it, the bilateral vision. It's like
I think that's what I have, where it's like
BVI.
two different eyeball.
Yeah, eyeballs. You have two different eyeballs.
Oh my God, I said this. I say that every time. Two different ways of seeing, two different prescriptions.
Mm.
I don't know how to say for your pair of eyeballs.
For your pair of eyeballs. Let's see, I was gonna try to find it real quick. What is it? Binocular
Binocular vision.
vision dysfunction. Okay, yeah, so BVD, just a really quick one because I didn't research this, but BVD, binocular vision dysfunction, is a condition where the eyes do not work together properly, resulting in visual discomfort and other symptoms like um, eye strain, headaches, dizziness, double vision, difficulty reading, neck pain, and motion sickness. Oh yeah, we talked about this around motion sickness, I
Yes.
think, where this is where some people's motion sickness comes from. It can sometimes be treated with corrective lenses, eyeglasses, eye muscle surgery, vision exercises, prismatic lenses, and medications in some cases. So I'm not sure if mine is a problem with the integration and sequencing of the
Right.
information or if it's visual. Because I do have 20/20 vision now with my LASIK history.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm 10 years in and it's still 20/20, so
There you go.
very happy. But yeah, I don't know because I've always had trouble with like in ice skating, I would like dodge people that weren't anywhere near me.
Oh,
And like my mom would
funny.
always be like, "Why are you dodging them? They're not
Yeah.
anywhere close to you." And I'd always
Right.
think they're about to hit me.
Oh my
Or like
gosh.
me trying to play volleyball has been really it's really fun because I love doing like social sport activities with people
Yeah.
that I cannot tell for the life of me where the ball is coming to. Like I'm just having to like guess that my hands are kind of close to where it's coming. So the
Fascinating.
hardest part for me is like learning how to track like where the ball's going. Um, eh,
That sounds like proprioception.
yeah, it could
Your
be that
body in
too.
space of just like not being able to like read that.
Yeah, and that's kind of where the vestibular bilateral integration, the VBIS, comes in
Got
because
it.
it is like the vestibular and proprioceptive systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Interesting, right? And
Yeah.
then the other type of dyspraxia is somatodyspraxia. So it relates more to difficulties in coordinating executing new rather than habitual motor tasks. So it's more like poor tactile, vestibular, or proprioceptive processing. Um, and primarily they just have difficulty with activities that they don't do often, like we were saying earlier, like cutting with scissors,
Yeah.
riding a bicycle, and problems with daily activities also, like getting dressed, using a knife and fork. They may like bump into things and trip over things frequently, and taking longer to learn new skills like tying shoelaces, writing, or ball skills. And then difficulty with transitioning from one activity to another. Like it takes extra time to catch up to the skills that are needed for that. And again, this is specific to motor coordination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then the last one that we were going to talk about for sensory processing disorders was the sensory discrimination disorder, SDD. So that is more of a description of a problem in recognizing or interpreting differences or similarities in qualities of stimuli. So some common signs of this would be like jumping on beds a lot, bumping or pushing into others, grasping objects too tightly or using too much force, frequently dropping things or knocking things over, um, mouths, licks, chews, or sucks on non-food items. Interesting. Craves movement, like liking to spin yourself around, afraid of heights, swings, or slides, and having poor balance. So this one's a little more difficult to understand, I think.
That's actually not where my brain went when you said the name of it. I more wondered if it was like when you hear, like, for example, if I'm in a room that has a little bit of noise
Hmm.
and a lot of bit of noise, no,
A little bit of noise and a lot of it of
if
noise.
I if I'm in a room, if I'm in a room where it's super noisy and I am feeling really anxious in the room, I take it as like I don't actually understand that it's too noisy because my it's not like it's hurting my ears.
Hmm.
It's more of like the overstimulation of it all and not being able to articulate that like, oh, it is the noise that is overwhelming to me.
Hmm.
But it
Hmm.
sounds like that's not it. So it doesn't even matter. Because I
I
have an
think,
issue with that, where it's
yeah.
like I feel very overwhelmed in environments, but it's like I can't articulate like what is overwhelming. I just know that it's like too much.
Hmm. That sounds like almost more like just like the flooding, like we were talking about, like
Yeah.
that you just have to have trouble narrowing in on like what it is. Whereas
Hmm.
I think that this is saying more like discrimination between the types of things. Like maybe it would be more like that you can't tell whether something is loud or quiet. Like can't tell the differences or similarity in that sensory.
Yeah.
Some other examples are like for your touch is like difficulty being able to identify objects by touch alone. It's like one of the tests that we use for that is like putting your hand into a box and trying to identify an object in
Yeah.
there without seeing it. So like being able to touch like a key and knowing that it's a key, or a
Right.
paper clip and knowing it's a paper clip
Yeah.
by touch alone. Or being able to tell like is it rough or is it soft. I definitely have hypersensitivity when it comes to touch of textures, so I do not have this.
Yeah. Well, maybe this is where that hyposensitivity part of the chart comes in,
Hmm.
where kind of like some of the examples you were giving earlier, it's like that deep integrate or that deep, like deep touch is what I'm thinking of. I don't
Mm.
know why I chose deep touch. I feel like that's weird. Let me think of another way to say this. Oh my gosh. Like it's
Like
more like sensory seeking activities, like
right,
spinning around in circles because you can't articulate that like you can't even feel that you're going in circles. But I wonder if
right.
it has to do with like pain tolerance too, of like not being able to understand that like you are in a significant amount of more pain than like another type of pain or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's a discrimination of types of sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the type of pain or the amount of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where I think like I fall more into that SMD, the sensory modulation differences, which included that like hyposensitive, hypersensitive, um, or over responsive, under responsive. That's how they talk about
Hmm.
it. Whereas I don't think that I have too much trouble with discriminating between them. But again, this is like super variable. So you could have it in one area where you can't
Right.
touch, but you can tell, taste or smell or something, it could be pretty variable.
I think it is variable too, like what you were saying earlier with just where your nervous system is in general and how
Mhm.
full your cup is. And just like, I think that tolerances vary quite a lot in a lifetime,
Mm. Hmm.
in different phases of life.
Yeah. Another example that it gave for sound was difficulty understanding speech, especially in noisy environments.
Hmm.
So I think that's one that a lot of people deal with, especially ADHD people.
Yep. I think that was hard for me, like seeing in environments because like I know that I can hear,
Mm,
but I couldn't tell if like people were mumbling or if I was just having a hard time processing what they were saying because there was other stimuli. And
mm,
it's definitely the latter of like it's just sometimes my auditory processing lags quite a
mm.
bit. And I feel like, especially in busy environments, I'm always like, what? What did you
Yeah.
say?
Take some extra time to get it in there.
Yeah, even if they're saying it in a like even if I'm able to hear it, sometimes I'm not able to like comprehend what's being said.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mhm.
Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to go through for sensory processing disorder particularly was some medical issues that can come along with sensory processing problems. So this is just a list without any explanations, but brain imbalance, chronic pain, which makes a ton of sense, food sensitivities, retained primitive reflexes. Um,
I don't know what that is.
oh, your primitive reflexes are things that you're born with that are supposed to over time go away.
Huh.
So like we have one that when you look in the direction, your arm that you're looking towards extends and the arm that you're looking away from bends.
Hmm.
So like babies, when they turn their head, they automatically do that motion. And then there's also one where when you're placed like in a crawling position and your head looks up, your knees flex. And when you look down, your knees extend.
Interesting.
Yeah. So these are supposed to be integrated at a certain age for each one. So they shouldn't appear when you're older unless you've had like brain damage or something else going on that's making you retain them.
Interesting.
And they can get in the way of things. There's a lot of different ones, so I can't give examples of all of them. Like,
Yeah.
say you had a retained reflex where your knees bend when you look up or down. Maybe
Fascinating.
I had those backwards. I can't remember. But anyways, if you look down and your knees like collapse on you, or vice versa, you can't bend your knees when you're, like get in
Yeah.
the way of life and activities. Mm.
Interesting.
Occupational therapy again. That's your friend.
Hey, and I have a comment about that when we're ready for it.
Okay. Headaches, brain inflammation, yeast overgrowth,
Mm.
seizures, GI issues, and nutrient deficiencies. So those are some things that can come along with difficulty with processing sensory information.
Yep.
Yeah. And then along with what you were saying about pain, there's particularly difficult pain responses, especially for people who are over responsive to stimuli,
Yes.
because it can be like this is one that definitely affects intimacy, especially is like light touch can feel painful. And like it's a true response that your brain is having incorrectly to the touch.
Yep.
And then opposite of that is people who can't sense pain when they should. So like the kids that, accidentally touch the stove and they don't realize that they're having pain
Yep.
and then don't respond fast enough or have a
Mhm.
delayed response.
Mhm.
Um, and then another interesting thing for neurodiverse people is that in neurotypical people, when you have an exposure to pain over time, that exposure reduces like the response in your brain. So over
Cool.
time, it gets less and less. And for neurodiverse people, it doesn't get less. It stays like the same. Like our brain never gets used to what's happening and it just kind of stays at that same level. Yeah, not great for us. Mm.
That is so interesting. Do you think that that goes to in terms of like the phenomenon of burnout and not necessarily losing skills, but like losing tolerance for certain things. And that,
Mm.
like, the more, like, if this is your whole life and your cup gets filled and filled and filled and filled and filled, like, you can never gain some of that tolerance back. I wonder
Yeah.
if that's like a similar. thought.
Yeah, that could be.
Could be.
Um, so then treatment stuff for SPD, OT is what we talked about, and then the primary thing that OTs are going to use is called sensory integration therapy. And so sensory integration is like basically learning how to integrate the sensations to form more of the correct response. Originally developed and described by Dr. Jane Ayres in the 1970s. Okay, yeah, so basically it's allowing us to take the signals from our senses, make sense of those signals, and then respond appropriately. So it's kind of like using our cognitive ability to override what's like naturally happening inside.
So interesting.
Yeah. What were you going to say about OT?
Oh, what? I love OTs, and I wish I was an OT. I wish I had done that instead of speech, to be
Oh.
honest. Um, so I started looking for an adult OT about a year ago when I got my autism diagnosis, and I could not find
Hmm.
any in the area that
Oh.
we're in to work with. What I found were occupational coaches, where it was like
Oh.
people that had gone to OT school and were just like not using their licenses, but basically like you pay them cash and they do like a coaching session with you.
Hmm.
But I wonder, followers, if anyone has anything to like contribute because I think that there is a huge lack of adults OTs, and I wish that there were more, and maybe I'm like looking in the wrong area. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? But I feel like every time I looked up OTs, they were all pediatric, like especially if they were in private practices
Yeah.
or were like for geriatric patients and in home health.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to point that out that like even though this is, and I will also say that I wonder too much how much like support needs you need to have in order to qualify to
Mm.
receive occupational therapy from like an
Right.
insurance standpoint. Like that's all stuff that I found very hard to navigate last year, so I don't know how accessible OT is.
Hmm. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
sure either. If you have any info, let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah. Okay, so the last thing I really wanted to go over for this part was what highly sensitive people definition is.
Perfect.
So the biggest difference is that SPD is considered a disorder, whereas HSP is a personality trait. Um, so a highly sensitive person is a personality trait in like 1 out of 5 people, so it's pretty common actually. Um, it can also be called SP sensitivity. I don't know what I was saying there. It's considered like a biological trait. So I wasn't sure if that meant like it never said like specifically like genetic, but like a trait that you've kind of developed. I'm not sure. And kind of the definition was feeling things more deeply, being more aware of subtleties in the environment, and noticing more around them. Are more easily overwhelmed in a highly stimulating environment. And part of the definition between them is that HSP is more situational. So, like, when that trigger is removed, they no longer have the reaction, whereas somebody with SPD will like continue having the response, like our like hangovers after social things or too much stimulation, versus like it going away and immediately being like, okay, I'm good again. And then the responses are also appropriate to the stimuli, whereas SPD responses may come out in a different way that is like inappropriate according to like what we expect the response to be. So like an HSP person may like, I don't know, get irritated at things being too loud or something like that, whereas someone with sensory processing maybe, okay, things are too loud. Like this is what happens for me. Things are too loud and I get itchy, like my skin starts to bug me and I like scratch.
Interesting.
And so my brain's processing that incorrectly and taking the overwhelm of sensory as I have like my skin itches.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's one of the ways I'll notice that I'm getting overstimulated. So I'm like, why am I scratching my arms?
Yeah.
That's just one example. But then SPT also occurs to the trigger regardless of the environment or your own internal state.
Hmm.
Whereas a highly sensitive person may only respond if they're like also stressed, or they may respond in some environments but not in others. And then they're also considered highly in tune with emotions of the people around them and also need more downtime in a less stimulating environment to avoid sensory meltdowns. So,
Yeah, I'm just gonna go out on a limb. Well, not out on a limb, but like it's really hard for me to separate a highly sensitive person from an autistic person.
yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, just those definitions all sounded like autistic traits to me,
Hmm.
and also sounded like the processing disorder, and also like what is personality versus like the biological genetic component. Like,
Yeah.
so I feel like I'm not even prepared to give a comment on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
know.
I am sensitive. So
But there's your definition, take as you will.
cool. Thanks.
And then I'm gonna share this funny meme on our page. But it's the one where there's a guy like he's gonna like push a button on a controller and he's like sweating in response. And it says having dry feet or putting lotion on my feet. And both are like equally bad of a sensory experience.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I don't know. I don't know which one. I don't know.
They both suck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I think actually I experienced that with showering and washing my hair
That's
of
what I was
like,
gonna say. Like feel
yeah,
dirty, shower,
yeah,
get wet.
yes. Yeah. And like just the whole transition of showering, and
Hmm.
it's a feat. So
Yeah. Agreed.
that is so funny. There's so many decisions like that in my life.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a rundown of kind of the sensory processing differences that we
Cool.
have. And again, super common in ASD and ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, what great timing for that episode. I just feel like, yeah, such great information. Thank
Thanks.
you. Yeah.
All right, guys, we will see you next week for social slip-ups. That's what I was going to talk about next. So,
Wow.
all right, be unapologetically you this week.
Find your joy. Regulate when you need to.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those. If you want to get pictures that go along with our episodes and follow along, join us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks, hotties.
hotties.
Bloopity bloop bloop.
Bloopers.
Like, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. Left the building. Oh well.
Oh well.
Okay.
Okay. I'm also gonna pause for a second and
Please
do
pause.
a quick uh what is that called?
Did someone just come and like steal all of our thoughts? Maybe we've been alien
Trigger warning. That's what I was gonna use.
Trigger warning.
And react to those stimuli. I don't know.
Regulate when you need to.
I think it needs to be something sensory related though. Mm,
Do you want to say the react one?
I don't know. Hmm. Sometimes I can think of something witty, but not this time.
Let's do it together. What do you want it to be like? It's okay to be sensitive.
No, I don't know. Now I lost it completely.
Honor your senses. I don't know. Okay. We can end this now.
Oh, yep, okay. No, we didn't have a fun one this time, sorry.